On September 6, 2018, in the remote, sun-drenched mountains of southern New Mexico, something unusual happened. The National Solar Observatory at Sacramento Peak, a facility dedicated to staring into the fiery heart of our solar system, was abruptly and completely evacuated. A simple sign was posted on the door, closed for security reasons. The local post office, which served the tiny community of Sunspot built around the observatory, was also shuttered. Residents were told to leave, with no explanation other than it was a matter of safety. Then the black helicopters arrived. Local law enforcement, including the Otero County Sheriff, was kept in the dark. Sheriff Benny has told reporters he had no idea what was happening. His deputies were on standby, asked to help with the evacuation, but were given no details. He said, "The FBI is refusing to tell us what's going on. We've got people up there that requested us to stand by while they evacuated." Nobody would really elaborate on any of the circumstances. For an observatory whose primary purpose is to look up, all attention was suddenly and menacingly focused down on the ground. The information vacuum lasted for 11 days. In that silence, speculation grew into a wildfire of conspiracy. The internet, a machine built for such moments, churned out theories ranging from the plausible to the wildly fantastic. The location itself was a key ingredient. New Mexico is not just any state, it is the land of Roswell, the alleged crash site of an alien spacecraft in 1947. It is home to the White Sands Missile Range, a sprawling military installation where the world's most advanced and secret weapons are tested. An observatory, a place designed to see things far away, located in a hotbed of UFO lore and military secrecy, being shut down by the FBI. It was a perfect storm for the modern myth-making machine. The most popular theory, of course, was aliens. Had the Dunn Solar Telescope, the observatory's crown jewel, finally seen something it wasn't supposed to? A fleet of extraterrestrial ships hiding behind the sun, preparing for an invasion. Or perhaps it had detected a non-terrestrial signal, a first contact event so monumental that the government had to clamp down immediately to control the narrative and prevent global panic. Proponents of this theory pointed to the strange, almost surgical nature of the shutdown. If it were a simple threat, like a gas leak or a bomb threat, why the intense secrecy? Why involve the FBI's top agents? Why the helicopters, a cinematic trope for clandestine government operations? Another, perhaps more terrifying, theory emerged. It had nothing to do with aliens, but with the sun itself. What if the observatory had detected an imminent and catastrophic solar event, a super flare or a massive coronal mass ejection aimed directly at Earth, an event so powerful it could cripple our civilization? In this scenario, the government wasn't covering up aliens. It was covering up the end of the world as we know it, to prevent the mass hysteria that would precede the collapse of global power grids and communication systems. The shutdown was an attempt to silence the scientists who had seen the harbinger of a digital apocalypse. A third, more terrestrial theory pointed to espionage. The observatory has a clear line of sight over the White Sands Missile Range. Its powerful instruments, while designed for the sun, could potentially be repurposed. Was it possible that a foreign power, perhaps China or Russia, had compromised the facility, using its high-tech equipment to spy on secret American military tests? In this version of events, the FBI wasn't silencing astronomers. They were rooting out a spy ring. This explained the law enforcement angle and the need for secrecy to protect national security. To understand the weight of these theories, especially the one concerning a solar cataclysm, we must look back in time. The sun is not the gentle, life-giving orb we often imagine. It is a violent, chaotic nuclear furnace, prone to fits of rage. Its surface is a roaring sea of plasma, twisted by magnetic fields 1,000 times stronger than Earth's. Sometimes, these magnetic field lines snap and reconnect, releasing a colossal amount of energy in what we call a solar flare. Often accompanying these flares are CMEs, where billions of tons of solar plasma are hurled into space at millions of miles per hour. Most of the time, these eruptions miss Earth, but sometimes they don't. On the morning of September 1st, 1859, a British amateur astronomer named Richard Carrington was sketching a group of sunspots when he witnessed a brilliant flash of white light on the sun's surface. It was a solar flare of unimaginable magnitude. Just 17 hours later, the CME associated with that flare slammed into Earth's magnetic field. What followed is now known as the Carrington event. It was the most powerful geomagnetic storm in recorded history. The world's nascent electronic infrastructure, the telegraph system, was thrown into chaos. Telegraph lines sparked, setting papers ablaze in telegraph offices. Operators received electric shocks. Some systems continued to work even after being disconnected from their power supplies, running on the electrical current induced by the storm itself. The aurora borealis, normally confined to the polar regions, was seen as far south as Cuba and Hawaii. People in the Rocky Mountains woke up in the middle of the night thinking it was dawn. The sky was so bright. The world of 1859 was one of steam and muscle. The Carrington event was a spectacular curiosity, a frightening anomaly, but not a civilization-ending catastrophe. Now, imagine a storm of that magnitude hitting us today. Our world is no longer run by steam. It is run by a delicate, intricate web of electronics. Our power grids, our satellites, our GPS, our internet, our banking systems, our water and sewage pumps, everything is connected to a fragile electronic nervous system. A modern Carrington event would be a silent, digital apocalypse. The first casualty would be the power grid. The massive influx of geomagnetically induced currents would overload transformers, the massive, custom-built hearts of our electrical distribution system. They would melt and explode. Replacing them isn't a matter of days or weeks. It's a matter of months, even years. We don't have a stockpile of giant transformers waiting in a warehouse. Without power, society would grind to a halt. No lights, no refrigeration, no communication. Cell phones would be useless. The internet would vanish. GPS satellites, crucial for everything from navigation to financial transactions, could be fried. Without electricity to pump water, taps would run dry within a day or two. Without fuel pumps, transportation would cease. It would be a cascade failure of every system we rely on for modern life. A 2013 report from Lloyd's of London estimated that the economic cost of such an event could be in the trillions of dollars, with a recovery time of 4 to 10 years. It would be a return to the 19th century, but without the skills or infrastructure to survive in it. This is not science fiction. In 1989, a much smaller solar storm knocked out the entire power grid of Quebec for 9 hours. In July 2012, a Carrington-class CME erupted from the sun. It was a kill shot. Fortunately, it missed. Earth had passed through that exact point in its orbit just 1 week earlier. We dodged a cosmic bullet by a hair's breadth. Scientists estimate that the probability of a Carrington-level event occurring in any given decade is around 12%. It is not a question of if, but when. So, when the FBI locked down a solar observatory, a place whose very job is to provide the first warning of such an event, the solar catastrophe theory didn't seem so far-fetched. It felt chillingly plausible. The silence from the government only amplified this fear. For 11 days, the world watched and wondered if the people in charge knew something terrible was coming. Then, on September 17th, the observatory reopened. The official explanation finally came, and it was as mundane as it was sordid. It had nothing to do with aliens, solar flares, or spies. According to court documents that were later unsealed, the FBI was investigating a janitor who worked at the facility. This janitor was the prime suspect in a child pornography case. He was allegedly using the observatory's federal internet connection to download and distribute illicit materials. The entire dramatic lockdown was a carefully planned law enforcement operation. The FBI needed to seize the observatory servers and the suspect's electronic devices as evidence. They had to do it in a way that prevented the suspect, who was on site, from remotely wiping the data. The evacuation of all personnel was to ensure their safety and to prevent anyone from interfering with the investigation, either intentionally or accidentally. The remote location and the fact that it was a federal facility on federal land explained the FBI's jurisdiction and the lack of communication with local law enforcement. The black helicopters were likely used to transport the federal agents and their equipment to the isolated mountaintop quickly and securely. The mystery was solved. There was no alien fleet. There was no doomsday flare. There was no spy ring. There was just a grim, depressing, and all too human crime. The grand cosmic conspiracy dissolved into a tawdry police procedural. But the story of the Sunspot Observatory lockdown doesn't truly end there. It serves as a powerful parable for our time. For 11 days, the incident held up a mirror to our collective anxieties and our relationship with the unknown. We live in an age of incredible technological advancement, yet we feel a deep-seated unease. We are more connected than ever, yet we are deeply distrustful of the institutions that govern us. The public's immediate jump to conclusions about aliens or government cover-ups reveals a profound desire for grand narratives. A story about a lone criminal is tragic, but it is small. A story about making contact with another civilization or facing a cosmic threat is epic. It gives a sense of meaning and importance to our confusing world. It suggests that there are secrets worth keeping, that there are powers at play far beyond our mundane lives. In a way, the conspiracy is more comforting than the banal truth. More importantly, however, the Sunspot incident inadvertently highlighted a very real, non-conspiratorial threat. While everyone was looking for a fictional cover-up, they stumbled upon the genuine, scientifically backed danger of our sun's volatility. The Carrington event is not a theory. It is a historical fact. The fragility of our technological civilization is not a conspiracy. It is an engineering reality. The real secret is not that the government is hiding aliens, but that our entire way of life is balanced on an electronic knife edge, vulnerable to a tantrum from a star 93 million miles away. The FBI locked down the Sunspot Observatory not because of what they saw on the sun, but because of the darkness found within a single person. Yet, the questions the incident raised linger. It forced us, for a brief moment, to look up and consider our place in the cosmos. It reminded us that the universe is filled with wonders and terrors that require no human conspiracy to be awe-inspiring or devastating. The threat from the sun is real, it is coming, and unlike the drama in New Mexico, it will not be resolved with a simple press release. The sun keeps its own counsel, and it will not wait for us to be ready.